the right time. Cavalry has arrived. This fourth base might be taken out and going down.
No, the tables have turned. It is
Hi, I'm Sean Day9 Plot from Day9 TV, and we're here at MLG Anaheim to get a sense of what the esports community is like. How'd you get into StarCraft 2?
Well, I played StarCraft 1 since I was about 14.
That's professional StarCraft. That's something that they can do that I can't do.
Do you consider yourself the best Protoss player in the world right now?
Of course, why not?
Thousands of fans will spend the next few days watching the best players in the world compete in a number of tournaments, including the headline event, StarCraft 2. For the past 15 years, the esports community has rallied behind this fast-paced, real-time strategy game that pits two players in the heat of futuristic warfare. It not only tests one's speed and agility, but also their knowledge of strategy and tactics. Since StarCraft's inception in the late 1990s, alliances formed to create dream teams of professional players who have dominated the tournaments, as countless opponents from across the globe have vied for the title of StarCraft champion. The community that is built up around these tournaments has produced not only a thriving fan base, but also several professional StarCraft leagues, numerous esports commentators, and an independent event scene that has spread worldwide. It all started when Blizzard Entertainment decided to make a new real-time strategy game called StarCraft. StarCraft development began in 1996, and while it was a new universe for Blizzard Entertainment, it was based on all the lessons learned from their previous RTS games, Warcraft and Warcraft 2. After some experimentation, the company honed in on a clean, isometric game that pit three warring races on a futuristic battlefield, where they must collect resources,
not enough minerals,
construct a base,
I read you.
build up an army,
Oh yeah.
and then find and destroy their opponents. Whether choosing the scrappy Terrans, ferocious swarming Zerg, or the powerful enigmatic Protoss, players fight for strategic positions on the map, looking for any opportunity to take advantage of a strength or an opponent's weakness to get ahead in the battle. But when the expansion pack for StarCraft 1 was released, Blizzard developers began noticing a change in the player community.
Paul Sams, our COO, was out in Korea, and he came back with pictures of people dressing up like Hydralisks and Protoss units and Terran units, and suddenly it was on a whole nother level.
When the original StarCraft was made, it was designed to be a great game, but it wasn't necessarily designed specifically to be an esport. That was something the community showed us what it could be, how it could be done, and they made that happen.
I remember thinking back then that StarCraft was like an interesting game to watch for sure, but it hadn't quite reached esports level. But when the Koreans started first playing it, guys like Slayers, Boxer, Nada, all those guys, like, yeah, it blew my mind. Those guys took it to a whole nother level. They made it a professional occupation.
Watching these players compete with one another at this level that we had not designed the game at, really. We never tested that, and these guys' hands moving over the keys and moving the UI so much. I just thought the game was going to crash, you know.
These professional gamers were a unique breed. They brought a skill and focus to their game that most other players simply could not. For example, in StarCraft, your APM, or actions per minute, is a quantitative indicator of how fast you can issue commands on the battlefield.
Yeah, and his keyboard.
Man, he's got so much APM, he broke his keyboard. That's hardcore.
A little bit of emergency surgery.
Professional players could maintain up to 300 actions per minute during an entire match of StarCraft. That's 5 keystrokes every second for matches that can last for over an hour.
StarCraft is absolutely a game of inches. It's not like when you get blown out, you were actually that much worse. You just made a few mistakes that you shouldn't have made, and now you're going to get to lose maybe big.
As StarCraft's popularity grew in Korea, new players came from many other countries to compete for the glory of being the best in the world.
Watching these guys play is absolutely inspiring, and in many ways they're all our favorites. Like, it's just amazing to watch these guys play.
But it wasn't just the pros who were pushing the limits of the game. PC bongs, or gaming cafes, sprang up all over Korea, giving amateur players an opportunity to compete with each other, strategize, and learn the secrets of the pros. This fueled the rise in popularity and skills of the players, and drove StarCraft esports even further into the global mainstream.
It was really great to see everyone, really rally behind the players, get really excited, and that's when I feel like esports really started to take off outside of Korea, where it had always done pretty well.
In 2007, at the Blizzard Worldwide Invitational in Seoul, Korea, fans were in for a surprise with the announcement of Blizzard's newest title, StarCraft 2.
드디어 올 것이 왔군.
Are you ready for StarCraft 2?
StarCraft 2 was released in 2010 to much praise. While it continued the same storyline from the original StarCraft, it would also soon become the standard RTS game for competitive esports.
With StarCraft 2, we looked at the game from the beginning and said, okay, we want this to be an esport. We want to make it successful. So, let's focus on things like readability, esports balance, on esports features.
The game was built for this. The game was constructed thinking about things like broadcast, observer mode, being able to tell the story of what's going on, not just in-game, but also then latching into the historical stories of the players.
But StarCraft 2 has really been able to reach out to a bigger audience, a broader audience. More sponsors are getting involved, more companies and restaurants, and lots of additional interest is coming into StarCraft 2.
I think with StarCraft 2, it has shown that it's really expanded out to become an international phenomenon.
I said to everybody in the company, I was like, StarCraft 2 is going to be our flagship game. It's the first time we've had something that's got the built-in community and the tools that we're going to be able to do exactly what we've always dreamt of.
Over the last few years, there have been a number of star players to rise from the ranks and show off their particular skills, strategies, and unique playing styles to become StarCraft champions.
There's people out there whose full-time job is to play StarCraft or to prepare StarCraft or whatever, and it's just amazing to imagine people are creating careers out of this game, and it's extremely humbling.
It really has changed my life. It's given me a job. It's given me everything I wanted. Like, it's allowed me to travel to the US. It's allowed me to travel the world.
And our dream was to travel the world, to see different people, and to compete on the biggest stages. And now in StarCraft 2, we're able to do that. I'm in Anaheim now, and I'm going to be in Sweden soon. It's a dream come true.
Fruit dealer. Here's this guy who was very passionate about the game, practiced it a lot, and basically was helping his family pay the bills by selling fruit. His name, Fruit Dealer, came from this story, and he, as a pro gamer, made a bunch of money out there, got a chance to fly out to the US. All these things came from his skills in playing this game.
All of the energy these guys are pouring into this game and pouring into the entertainment that they're creating around this game is absolutely amazing.
And there's one other thing that's guaranteed to be fantastic, yeah? DJ Wait. Just a little strategy game by the name of StarCraft 2!
Pro players aren't the only ones to benefit from the rise in esports. Professional shoutcasting has become as popular as playing the game itself.
Well, StarCraft kind of became my life. I moved to Korea to pursue commentating, actually, and after following the Korean scene, I knew that StarCraft was what I wanted to do with my life. So I just continued on and on and on.
I had made 800 videos in a year, so I don't know the math on that. It's a couple videos every day for an entire year. I absolutely loved it, and it's what I would spend almost all my free time doing, because I totally enjoyed it. It was a hobby.
It was almost by luck, I don't know, an accident, a happy accident, that my coaching was all done via audio. Eventually, one of the teammates said, hey, you should do this like it's a sportscast, and I did, and sort of that was that.
So StarCraft's actually who I am. It's really transformed the way that I see the world, and that's from the way the game works and how it challenges me, and then also outside of the game, how that's impacted the way that my life is set up.
Since the countdown has begun,
Oh my
I am
God.
so stoked. Game
It's game
9.
time.
Live events have seen a tremendous rise in attendance across all continents. There are now dozens of live, major esports events taking place around the world each year, with the largest tournaments attracting as many as 20,000 or more attendees.
You think about the first events that we saw with StarCraft 2, where there's a good amount of people, but then the people in the community were like, well, gosh, I want to be a part of that. And then they came, and then they told their buddies, and they wanted to be a part of that, and it truly seemed like the snowball effect.
Just the energy that happens in these big forums when you get all of these gamers together to watch a game they really love is just, it's absolutely amazing.
Last year at MLG Anaheim, like I went and I got to watch live, and it's like standing room only. There's like so many people there watching StarCraft. The Boxer versus Rain game went for like over an hour and a half. And like there was this epic battle, and everyone was on their feet just screaming at like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is going on.
To see that many people excited about StarCraft 2 and esports, and then to feel like I was part of it, that was epic.
And that's the thing, is this ability to create these moments where you say, I was there when. I was there when, you know, Huck won after the Koreans had been involved. I was there when Boxer played his first match in Anaheim.
At the Spring Arena 1, it was MKP versus Dongregu. It was game 7, and it was tense. And the spawn positions were not favored for Dongregu, so the casters were like, oh no, he's gonna be really upset.
I mean, let's talk about these spots. When Marine King finds out where DRG is, he is actually just going to dance, man.
And then he goes for this Baneling bust. It's a really high risky strategy.
Oh my God. Here we go. This is probably going to be decided right this second.
The whole bar is holding their breath. They're like, oh my God, is the Baneling's gonna work?
DRG, amazing play here, breaking through.
And then it worked in DRG won and beat MKP for the first time.
Everything just exploding. Just a moment. Oh, and DRG, he breaks the curse. He is overwhelmed.
DRG has slain a legend.
The changes that happen in the strategy across the game, it's all them. You know, we put in units and we try to make them clean and solid and have a clear role, but we have no idea how anybody's actually going to use any of these things exactly. We can make some guesses, but they frequently show us what is possible. I think one of my favorite game moments would be Nesty's use of sort of advanced spine crawlers in a game against a Protoss player where he blocked a fast expand by putting creep in front of the Protoss player's base, and I had no idea what he was doing. I don't think the casters knew what he was doing.
This is important. What's happening? What is he doing? Try to predict it, because I actually do not know what he's doing.
And suddenly there was these spine crawlers all in front of this next. It was absolutely awesome.
Oh my God!
Oh my God,
this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
This has a trillion IQ.
I have never seen this before in my entire life.
This game has so much depth and so much going into it that you didn't just sit down and play. It's not a DDR where like you're gonna dance your feet to a different song. This is, every single game is independent event where you're playing against, sure, maybe a similar opponent, but there's so many different factors that go into it that every game is individual.
You know, baseball is always baseball. And baseball at Yankee Stadium between the Yankees and the Red Sox is always that game, but it's not. Each game is new and fresh. Of course, all of the drama associated with a match between two players, whether it's your favorite player, your most hated player, or whatever, is incredibly exciting, and that's always fresh. You don't know what's gonna happen. You're excited to see the result. It's a sport in that sense.
That's what any competitive activity, any sport, that's a beautiful thing about this. And every single time we have these events, we create those moments, both for the people in the room, the thousands of people who show up, but also the hundreds of thousands who tune in.
With the help of new technology, millions of people have viewed tournaments in over 200 countries. Major League Gaming alone broadcast over 15 million hours of pro circuit content in 2011. In this same year, Blizzard hosted 7 regional tournaments and televised the finals at BlizzCon with thousands of live spectators.
I think that the growth of esports in general is simply related to changing tastes in media. This generation is into demanding the exact content they want and not settling for anything less. The internet, streaming, YouTube VODs can provide all of that to them with a huge amount of variety available. They can pick their exact taste in commentator.
Yeah.
You can't even do that in real sports.
We can get these games easily all over the world, and you know, people like MLG and GSL, they do this all the time, where they get, you know, people from 180 countries or something insane watching these broadcasts.
500,000 people tuning in at one time during the day, millions of people over the course of a weekend, 175 countries. It's just, the scale is there now because that passion that was evident in those small pockets of community in the beginning those were the seeds, and they've grown and they've spread, and now you see so much more of that.
Just as the StarCraft community helped promote esports in the past, fans today take the lead in transforming local bars to create BarCraft events. There, StarCraft 2 matches litter the screens to create even more excitement in local communities.
I want to say hi to Andrew from Star Nation at the Austin BarCraft. What's up, guys?
Having beers, having cheers, and watching some amazing StarCraft 2.
I think you could really see things change once BarCraft started to happen.
The idea that, you know, you probably could have told someone 6 years ago that you're crazy, like that'll never happen, but look at what, you know, there's like 60 BarCrafts just this weekend.
You know, when there's a big tournament, I usually look and see if there's a local BarCraft here in Irvine, and it's a lot of fun watching the games live with other fans of the sport.
There's a ton of different types of people that come to these. There's the hardcore StarCraft fans who are staying up till 4 in the morning, and then there's the more casual crowd who just love the idea of watching StarCraft and having a beer.
It's just a good gathering place. Everyone shares a common interest.
Eventually I just met all these guys, and so I kept up to date with BarCraft and especially StarCraft after that.
It's a great feeling to be around those who love the game. And can come out and support and watch all these great games that some people might not have access to.
Ultimately, the sport grew because of the passion in the community and the experiences they shared with one another.
Esports community is, I think, at the height that I've ever seen it.
You know, the community has always been the forward pushers, and I think right now the community realizes, you know what? As a collective, we've got a lot of power.
I think it just comes down to straight up passion from the community. Without that, you can't really have esports. It's not possible.
Yeah. StarCraft and Blizzard games, in fact, Blizzard games in general wouldn't be where they are because it's the community that kind of guide Blizzard. It's their feedback that allows Blizzard to then kind of know what is going to make this the best game.
That's what it's all about. It's bringing the community together, supporting them, and giving them, you know, something that they can rally around. Something that they can all come together around and say, you know what, this thing is a great representation of something we love.
There's a secret cult of people out there that want to see this just get as big as it can possibly be. You know, guys like Tasteless and Artosis and GSL, you know, guys like Day 9, and then just gamers everywhere, guys doing BarCrafts. We want to change the world. We want to see if we can make this a thing that is something that is the sort of the entertainment for the 21st millennium. And we feel like we're on the cusp of doing it. We feel like, kind of smell the potential for victory here, smell the potential to break into the mainstream, get to a point where I can turn on ESPN, you know, on a Saturday night and watch, you know, a great game of StarCraft. You know, wouldn't that be absolutely awesome?
With an amazing, creative, and proactive esports community, the future looks very bright.
Well, we just had an awesome day here at MLG Anaheim, and with a few more matches to go, we're all about to tune in. So wherever you are, do enjoy Heart of the Swarm and keep spreading the esports love.
Find Kerrigan.
Blizzard is known for these just amazing pre-rendered cinematics, but the limitation there is that since they're so complex, that it's difficult to create a lot of footage. In-game cinematics function as this really cool supplement.
Basically, we make movies using the game engines. We can iterate very quickly.
You get a lot of flexibility and freedom from the speed at which we can work.
That also allows us more freedom to experiment and collaborate.
Basically, we can do a lot more with a lot less. Just helps us develop more story, gives the players more content.
We're able to tell different kinds of stories as well.
Probably one of the best tools we have to tell story. Well, the whole series is about Kerrigan's journey from being the Zerg, her love story with Jim Raynor, and how she dealt with Mengsk.
We have 9 stories to tell to bring her from this point to this point.
I mean, she goes through like this crazy roller coaster ride, chasing after people and killing people. And
she's just like hell-bent on revenge.
But Jim Raynor, he's trying to convince her not to, or to give up the hate and revenge. But they got separated, and she went on a warpath.
The cinematics department works very closely with the game team to come up with first scripts, then storyboards.
We use storyboards as a kind of a gateway into showing people what we're working on.
They give an idea of the depth and of where the camera is supposed to be and where the characters are supposed to be.
And we create a 2D animatic, which is basically a sequence of storyboards linked up together with music, sound effects.
We rough out a tremendous number of iterations, and we just keep throwing new ideas out.
The iteration is just part of the job.
That allows us to experiment and come up with new ideas to try to tell it the sequence as well as we can.
Things will change on the game side, which will change what happens on a cutscene on our end.
The story drives us so quickly that oftentimes we just sketch and just doodle very quickly. It's really about coming with the best story.
Once we have that, we start working on animation, creating models, and putting together a scene.
Previs is the first stage after the storyboards.
Taking our 2D cinematics, 2D storyboards, and put it in a 3D environment.
So we can start to get a feel for the staging, the blocking, the pacing.
We work out the cameras, most of the actions, a little bit of animation.
In the case of Kerrigan, we will place her into the scene in such a way that it exaggerates her moods, her feelings.
Basically tell the story within the shot. What's the story? What's the main point?
Yep, like riding a bike.
Amon Temple, actually, we took a very, very simple approach.
We shot it as much we could as a live action sequence.
We plot out the entire sequence, all the animation, in very crude, simple manner.
We would treat the environment as a set, and we would have the characters staged out and say, okay, here are our actors.
And then once that's done, we just go into our InnerSense room, which is our motion capture camera room.
We would have Ben hold the camera. He could actually just take that virtual camera and move around it and shoot it.
So that the shots that we create are more exciting and more alive.
What this process brought us, or showed me, is that even though this place is huge, this temple is huge, we're not going to see a whole lot. So with those information, I went with a more simplistic approach to the temple.
He told you of ruin, extinction.
For the Xel'Naga set, it was kind of a different look. So we kind of wanted to create something that had a little bit more of a mystical feel rather than a futuristic or a visceral feel.
What we did was we actually looked at all temples, super old temples. We wanted to get that ancient feeling.
So we were trying to do a lot of stone inlaid with metal. We looked at a lot of like ancient Egyptian references.
But it needed to be extremely, extremely sci-fi'd.
Open the door, son.
Valerian's orders, sir. No visiting.
Open the door.
We did the lab very first. It was one of the biggest sets we ever built.
We had Kerrigan in a laboratory, and it's like a medical environment. So we looked at a lot of like sci-fi movies, and we kind of wanted to see what do we want from this lab to be. We wanted it to be super high tech, but at the same time, we also wanted it to be a prison.
There was a lot of variety in the different types of pieces that were in the set.
From the elevator to the screen to the cell room Kerrigan's in, and even the door.
I think that we were definitely thinking about just making something that was sterile to kind of get across this vibe that she's undergoing a lot of testing.
Simple shapes in the tech and in the environment, a lot of lighter colors, and then just try to combine all that into this, call it fortress, that kind of just built just for Kerrigan.
Believe. Behold, Xeris.
When Zeratul show a vision of what Xeris is, there's two primal Zerg creatures running around, basically hunting each other.
The idea behind the primals was this was the Zergs on their home planet before they were altered.
We wanted to make them like they could hold their own against the old Zerg and maybe even more. Prehistoric Zerg, more like dinosaur versions of the Zerg. They're embodiments of the pure DNA that makes them what they are. So it's a very nice change from going into the very insectoid Zerg into the more, natural kind of Zerg.
So we didn't want that feeling that they were dirty or grungy or anything like that. They were much more pure.
They fight. They
We create all these like Zerg creatures. We had to know how they move. We have these really cool concepts, and we assume they're awesome for animation.
But now we have a previs department, and so that helps out a lot. When we get the scenes and just start animating without having to worry about other things.
The hardest part is actually pushing the animation a little bit further, like style-wise. We did a lot of reference for it. You got to do a lot of reference just to actually bring that to life, because if you try to do it thinking about it in your head, it's going to be really difficult.
A lot more went into it.
We worked in conjunction with the animators, and we made a system where they can essentially make the facial expressions that they need and get those into the rig quickly. There's a lot of emotional stuff going on in Heart of the Swarm. I think the rigs really gave the animators the ability to tell that story in a much more effective way.
It's really down to really subtle details in the face. So we try to push the facial expressions a lot, and then for us, just the general silhouette, the pose is very important. She's still fundamentally human, so making that silhouette that again is covered in spikes like all the Zerg creatures read sad or compassionate takes a little bit more work.
Her attitude, her animation gets more and more intricate.
Because this is Kerrigan's campaign, we really had to step it up and make sure she looks awesome.
For the most part, she's this badass chick who's gonna go kick everyone's butt.
She definitely has her own way that she holds herself.
Her walk is different, and then she grew high heels.
In the last cutscene that we did, we couldn't quite get the feel of a woman. Everything that we did, all the walks and all the stances, it was kind of like, it felt like a guy doing it, not really like a woman doing it. So we had to call in Tina, and she has heels and was wearing her heels and had the feel that we wanted.
Face me, Nerude.
We had to come up with the deserted Kerrigan. So we had to come up with the whole phase of what she looks like as not ghost Kerrigan, but almost like a prisoner Kerrigan.
From the last game, we had like a Zerg version of her, and we had to sort of like humanize her face, trying to incorporate textures that were more friendly, you know, and then...
Oh, obviously her dreads, we kept her dreads from Wings of Liberty. We had to hit certain look for when she was a ghost.
At the same time, you know, it's Kerrigan, you know, she's gotta be sexy, she's gotta be hot, so a lot of effort went into actually designing the suit, you know, make sure she looks good in that.
Still want to tell people that she's not fully ghost because we associate ghost kind of with that bluish glow. So I'll give her that orange glow. It's mostly all about color. As far as her display of her power,
it just goes from being subtle to over-the-top crazy.
We start with her being more ghost-oriented, so we're looking to like more psionic, so she can lift off people, crush objects.
You don't want to see her powers, but kind of hint her potential, because at the point you don't know that she's going to turn into Zerg again.
As the story progresses, she kind of evolves back into, she becomes a Queen of Blades again. And this is after she goes to Xeris and she gains her powers back.
We started looking into more Zerg power. How does she use her wings? How does she incorporate the swarm into her fight?
Everything, just all hell breaks loose at that point.
She transforms